want to get to this next story. I know we talked about this, or we teased this yesterday, but I guess I hadn't been paying much attention to this. So the city has been paying a lot of lip service, I think that's a fair way to describe it, to the idea of improving the living situation in the village, what used to be we call the gay village in Montreal, right? Now, when the city talked about making things better, they thought that heightened police presence, more community resources would be a good idea. At least that's what they talked about. But a new survey shows a large majority of residents who do live there don't feel safe. 68.2% of residents believe the village is either not very safe or not safe at all, and almost 70% of those surveyed said quality of life there was poor or very poor. Things are not getting better. Alain Hebert is head of the security committee of the Citizens Association of the Village of Montreal, and he is on the line. Alain, thanks for being here this afternoon. So look, the numbers speak for themselves. The city, as I said, has talked a lot about doing something. Why has nothing worked, do you think?
Very good question. I think the concentration of services that have been, put into the village, I've seen an increase in demand and in use since COVID. And what the citizens are telling us is that the balance that used to be in the neighborhood is not there anymore. So, it's pretty much the first time that we're asking residents, people who live in the neighborhood, how do you feel about the situation? And that we get very strong numbers telling us that things have to change.
All right. So the idea of things having to change, I mean, the city kind of got that message as well. The question is, what do those changes have to be according to people who live there? What needs to be done?
Well, the three levels of government need to talk to each other. One of the things that came out through the survey is that, during COVID, the governments worked together to try to help the situation. Since then, what we're seeing is that the city is trying to put a few actions together, but the money is either coming from the provincial government or the federal government, but nothing seems to gel and nothing seems to be going in the right direction. That has to stop. People need to see actions. The problem with homelessness is a major problem in the city right now. However, the concentration of that problem in the village is higher than in any other neighborhood. So it's no longer a question of, giving us lip service. It's a question of seeing actions and seeing actions as soon as possible.
So you mentioned the homeless situation, which is not unique, of course, to the village. This is a problem, obviously, in Montreal in a variety of different places.
Yep.
You talk about the three levels of government being able to talk to each other, and that's not unique, again, to the situation where you are either. But it would seem to me what I heard a lot of is even merchants, businesses down there. So you may own a business, you may not live in the village. They're complaining about the fact that they're not even getting any help from the city.
Yeah, no, I know it's a situation that's quite difficult right now. The city, has been working, trying to put actions into place. However, I do believe that, they're not the one having the power, the decision power to make things happen. That has to come, primarily from the provincial government. They're in charge of healthcare. They're in charge of, providing the services, providing the budget for housing. And what happens is that, again, the concentration in the village is what makes that situation different from what we're seeing in other neighborhoods. And you see it right now, when people are talking about putting projects for new housing programs in other neighborhoods, there's already an outcry from the population. The situation here is that the services are here, they are available, but the concentration of those services is what's creating a problem right now.
So what does that mean when you say the concentration? In what sense?
A lot of housing, a lot of services for people having drug problems, mental health issues, homelessness. The neighborhood was traditionally a poor neighborhood. A lot of services have been put in this part of town over the years. However, with COVID, that concentration has increased. It has brought people in need into the area, and it's completely changed the balance of what the neighborhood used to be like.
So I would ask, with respect to, you mentioned budgets, which is a provincial issue. They control that money. Is this simply about money? If there was more money available, would that be able to fix part of the problem?
I think so. I think, problem number one is homelessness. So, new housing needs to be built and built very quickly to take people off the street. One of the things that came out of the survey is that the residents see three different levels of problems. There's homelessness, but there's also mental health issues, and there's heavy drug usage. Heavy drug usage is really where the citizens are saying things have to change, because heavy drug usage creates violence. It brings gangs into the neighborhood. It brings drug dealers into the neighborhood. And that's what makes the neighborhood feel really unsafe right now. Mental health issues is also seen as an issue, but it's not as important. We understand that these are people in need. They need help. And again, that will come from money invested into, services offered to them to make their situation better. And traditional homelessness is something that, any Montrealer is used to. And those people, they need housing in order to not be on the street. So if we can take care of the the heavy drug users, the problems that come with it, I think that we can solve a big portion of the problem.
Yeah, let me ask you an easy question, of course, Alain. How do you do that, right? So the drug use is an issue. And, of course, this is not, again, unique to the village, but it seems to me it's not even only about money. You can have all the money out there. You need to create resources, and then you move resources in, and people say, well, I don't want those in my neighborhood. How do you win?
Well, the thing is that the resources are here right now. So in our case, it's not a question of, putting more resources in the neighborhood. A lot of the resources are already here, but they don't have the budgets to be able to do the work that they need to do. So it's a question of seeing how can we all work together to better the situation. And obviously, we're coming with these numbers from the citizens, and I'm sure that there's a lot of community groups out there saying, well, we're going to get attacked by the citizens. That's not the case. The people who live in the village, they're people that are already quite tolerant, quite open to this type of environment. All we're saying is that we all need to work together to better the situation.
Listen, I wish you luck. You hate to hear it, especially, it's as I said off the top, the city made a big deal about recognizing there was a problem down there. I remember the mayor heading down there at one point, holding a press conference, and yet here we are months later, maybe more than months later, still dealing with a situation that really doesn't seem to have gotten any better. So I do hope that it does work out, because talking about it has not really made a difference.
No, but I think that this time talking about it, there seems to be a movement going in the right direction. There's enough attention being put on this problem that I think we're going to start seeing, things going in the right direction.
Well, let's hope so. Listen, I wish you the best. I thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's in the village. And look, when you hear the problems as he lays them out, you realize, we do need to do something about this. And if it's a matter of the city's, talked about it and has ideas, is it about money? Because he seemed to imply that it was. To say that the resources are there, but the budgets are not to be able to support those resources, that seems a pretty easy fix until, of course, you realize then he says, well, the city has to go to the province and ask for the money, and the province is apparently where this is all being held up. Let's hope that changes. That used to be a really nice part of the city. Let's hope it can come back.